So once you have your Photoshop open, this is what you'll see. Usually I'll just have layers. That's all. So all these are called windows. Even this toolbar here is windows. If you if your layers or your tools disappear, you can go to Windows here and you can open whatever you accidentally close here. So you can see there's a shortcut keys, or if you don't know where anything went, you can go to workspace and reset essentials. So in Photoshop, up here you'll find uh, the option for the current tool you are using. So right now is in Move Tool. So you can see there's different option here. Like this is Marquee tool. So another thing about Adobe is spacebar, alternate, control and shift is called modifier keys. So what it does is, so for example, right now you have this marquee tool in a new selection mode. So every single time you make a selection, it will make a new box. So if you press this, you'll add new box. So you can see the cursor change into one with a plus sign. So if you choose this, it will become a minus sign. So the modify key just now. So in while you're using any tools, spacebar will change it into like a move tool. So right now it's a marquee rectangle marquee tool. So if I press shift, it will become addition. You can add more box on top of the existing selection. So for array tool, it's different. So for example, here is brush. When you're using brush tool, alternate will become eyedropper. Control will become a move tool. So right now it's not working because it's on a background layer. So and then shift will become you can draw a straight line with it. So for digital painting, usually I'll just use marquee, selection, brush and eraser. B for brush, E for eraser, M for marquee tool, L for lasso. So if you look at the tools, some of it has like this arrow key on the bottom here. So if you hold down on the tool, it will open up this selection menu. So here you have a elliptical marquee tool. Another way to access this is if you M is for marquee tool. So if you hold down shift and then press M, it will scroll through every single tool in the marquee here. So next thing is brush. Oh, so yeah, marquee tool and this lasso tool is selection tool. So once you have this thing, if you want to remove this, you can go to select here to deselect, or you can, while using any of this selection tool, you can right click here and then deselect. There's other options here as well. You can feather this selection. So if I feather this selection, then when I paint, it will become like a blurred edge. Yeah, the shortcut key for selection tool, deselecting is Control D. Control D. So the next thing is brush. So brush tool, you can right click, it'll open up your brush selection, or you can press F5. So you have this windows here. So this is your brush setting. You can change the setting. So let's see, shape dynamic. If I unclick, it will become like a base brush like this. So you can change all this setting here. And so while you are in, let's say you chose this brush with pressure sensitivity on the opacity, I can go to F5 and change. If I select the brush here, it will change just the tip of the shape of the brush while maintaining every single setting for the brush that I chose just now. So if I have this normal round brush, I want texture with that brush, so I can just choose this, so I have a bit of texture. I can decrease the spacing as well, so I can have like this kind of texture brush. So usually when I draw, I'll just use like a round brush with pressure, so like this. Like this. What I can do here is, if you hold down Alt and then right click, holding down Alt and right click, you can move the cursor left to right, to left or right to increase or decrease the size. You can move it up and down to adjust the softness of the brush. So when I draw, what usually I'll teach what I'll use first. So basically you can press Control plus space to fill color, or alternate plus space to fill color. So Alt and space is one of this, Control and space is one of this. So right now it's in selection, so I can press Control D to deselect. So what I can do with this is I can lock this layer, the pixel of this layer. The shortcut key for this is question mark. So here. Once it's locked, I can paint it within the lock pixels. So the second thing I can do with this is I can go to create a new layer and then create clipping mask. So what does this do is, if I draw now, it's in a separate layer, and within this bottom layer here. So the shortcut key for that is you hold down Alt and move it in between the layers and press it. So once you click down, it will create a clipping mask. Okay, so for doesn't matter what kind of medium we use, everything boils down to this three things. So there is gradual transition, abrupt transition, and loss value transition. So for example, gradual transition is Control Shift N, you create a new layer, the shortcut for new layer, Control Shift N, or press this. So we have a gradual transition here. We have a gradual transition here. We have a abrupt transition here. And we have like a loss value transition right here. So what we are trying to achieve when we draw is just use whatever brush and then see how we can achieve this kind of transition, this tree transition with what brush we have. So like for example, like this. This doesn't have soft, if you're using pen, it doesn't have like, you can't blend with a pen, so there are still ways to achieve value transition while using like this kind of hard medium. So what I'm trying to say is, here, what you're trying to achieve is just this different value transition. So let's see. So right now I have 100% opacity and a soft brush. So it's very easy to achieve this kind of transition. So even though it's a soft brush, maybe there's like a hard edge. So what we can do is just make the brush bigger. So if it has a softer edge, or we can adjust the opacity. So the shortcut key for adjusting your opacity is by just pressing any of the number key. So for example, right now, you can press 1. Oh, so this is flow. Flow works like opacity, but I usually just use opacity, so I can just unclick this. So if I press 1, it will become 10%. If I press 2, 20, press 3, 30. So 100% is 0. So if I press 2 number very fast, it will become like both number combined together. So I press 1 and 5, and then it become 15. Same with other brush, like if for example I'm using this brush, 100% this. So if I'm using this brush, how do I achieve the value transition? I can I can just paint a lot of different in between value, or I can adjust the opacity and paint it like this. So in the end, everything is just this, how you control the edge. I'll give another example here. If I'm using like a hard round brush, I can paint a lot of different, a lot of in between value to achieve like a gradual value transition, or I can adjust the opacity. Okay, so how I draw is I will use the clipping mask, lasso tool, and lock layer. So like if I'm drawing this, I'll just draw this base layer first. So question mark to lock layer. So right now I can paint this. And then I can use like a polygonal lasso tool to quickly make this selection. And then create a new layer, fill in the layer. So right now I have this layer and lock this layer. And then for the different value, since this is like a hard edge, so I can create a different layer, create clipping mask, and then use polygonal lasso tool to make the selection like this. So if I lock this layer, I can paint like this. So this is digital in digital medium, right? If you can't paint it, you can find another way. You can always find another way to paint it. So for example, there's this triangle here. This triangle. It has like a harder edge on the bottom here. It has a harder edge at the bottom here. This shadow here. It has a harder edge on the bottom here, and then slowly it fades out. So what you can do is if it's very hard to paint that, we can just create a layer like this, a selection, and then create a new layer and fill in the color for that selection. So create clipping mask. It has like a soft edge, a harder edge here, and then fades out here. So I will just create this layer and then I can erase this part, make it softer, and then erase this part. Or so why we do this is because sometimes it's very hard to paint. If you are painting it like this, you might have to go through it a lot of round, and then the edge is not clean. You'll see like brush strokes. So what we do is just don't paint it. You can create, you can, since it's a soft edge, you can blur the edge by using a Gaussian blur. And then soften out this part like this. So I can lock this layer as well, and then paint in the darker part on the bottom here. So filter, blur, Gaussian blur.